Alright, only 2 packages. This one wasn't expected, so I'm guessing this is another one of those Gundams. Well, like I mentioned, there were 3 of them that were coming out, only 1 of which arrived. Okay. That looks like a candidate. And then we've got the smiling package. This isn't everything scheduled to come out this week, but it's the 2 things that arrived. Also, I got a physical copy of Alien Isolation from Limited Run Games, which is kind of nice. I might actually consider playing it. Give or take the fact that it's a terrifying game, and I don't know if I can handle it. Anyways, looking at stuff here, we have Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Oh my god, it's a lenticular cover. This is the 4K Blu-ray edition. You know, so sometimes I'm a little non-motivated to get these, but I decided to get this one. Let's get that off. Let's see, from the back, I see this is regions A, B, so this could be, you know, imported by anybody that cares. You can hear it's full lenticular glory. Very normal underneath that, but that's about to be expected. So we got the movie, but it looks like movie. Okay, is this only the one thing? It looks like it's only the one thing. Okay, and I'm kind of curious. Because, right, I think we've got... This is movie, of course. This is movie, of course. They both say AB, but I'm guessing one's the 4K. But I guess I'm not quite sure which one it would be which. I'm guessing the one on the left could be... Oh, you know what? There it is. That's the Blu-ray symbol there. And that's the Blu-ray 4K. Jesus Christ, that's not a... Okay, the angle that I was able to see that was like that. 4K Ultra Blu-ray. Alright. So yeah, this was Blu-ray and that was 4K. Alright. Next up we have Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Season 4, Part 1. Blu-ray, of course. First 11 episodes. So probably all the way up to that part. Looking at the back, I see region A only. English dub. Pretty straightforward. Good. And then, last but not least, what do we have here? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's Gunpla Builders Beginning G. Nani? Do this without leaving too much plastic attached to it. That's pretty good. I still feel a little bit right here. I'm not surprised. Still feel some there. Well, let's put that aside and get waste. Okay. Now let's take a look at the back. What can the back tell us? Region A only. Audio Japanese with English subtitles only. Okay. Kind of hard to see it. Just the one disc, but there you go. Alright, well, here's this week's anime Blu-ray collection update. Alright, let's get going. With my Friday friend, I watched the dub version of Goblin Slayer Season 2, the first 4 episodes. We probably could have gone another episode, but it seemed to be a reasonable pausing point. I think there may be 1 or 2 voices that I could tell were different. They're not too bad. It's not as surprising as the main voice actor for the King of Dwargo in Reincarnated as a Slime between the dubs of Season 1 and Season 2. You know, that one's a pretty shocking one, but it felt like, oh yeah, I could notice a change. And I think most of that comes down to I liked that character. I mean, the show just has very nice characters. Content-wise, I guess entertaining enough stuff. I mean, rewatching it, it hasn't been as spectacular as like Season 1 was, but sorry about that. Ooh. I've been pretty tired, but yeah, entertaining to rewatch. Hulk episode 20. I'm glad we're finally out of that flashback. We're not quite 100% in Hulk and Anne land yet, because they're doing some more catching up of stuff and introducing of more information, which I don't know. If I'd say there's any problem with the past handful of episodes, it's that it's a little too info dumpy, and not in the bad way, not just like, oh, let's just say it. It's just kind of like, oh, there's a lot of information, but it wasn't something that just sort of came out naturally as our character's quest. It's being deliberately cut off for the show to tell us about them, I guess. But yeah, it felt better. It felt like, I guess it wasn't just lost in this important, and it wasn't a side story, but it kind of felt sort of similar to when shows go on side stories. Whatever. The Saints' Magic Powers Omnipotent, Season 2, Episode 8. What do I even remember about this? I'm not sure. Bits and pieces of them, I guess, setting up what might be the story arc kind of teased at the very beginning of this season. But as for the contents, I'm blanking a bit. Eminence and Shadows, Season 2, Episode 28. Guess a bit of a swimsuit episode. Although I do have to say, this episode made me completely lose respect for the friends. I mean, they were kind of supposed to be questionable to a certain degree, but at this point, they kind of disgust me. And I don't know if I want to say too much, just because, you know, if you haven't watched the episode, you should probably get a chance to watch it. And if you do start watching it and you're like, oh, that's horrible. Well, if it's the same thing I did, then at least the show handled it entertainingly enough. Yeah, otherwise I guess it was pretty amusing. My daughter left the nest and returned to Nest Rake Adventure Episode 9. think we're getting hints as to a couple of interesting things. One of those I kind of suspected short term. Another one I kind of suspected more midterm in terms of watching this. In terms of maybe what it's trying to do with its story stuff. And it's interesting. I do feel like it has its moments of it's kind of pleasant to watch it. Maybe not exactly slice of life, but sort of something similar. And I don't know. This episode kind of had bits and pieces of that, but it also felt like it did develop some important story stuff. Dr. Stone, Season 3, Episode 18. I'm mostly trying to remember if there was anything about it that's like, oh, how very sciencey of this show, but it's more in its conflict phase, and you know, I was just talking about despisable characters before, and you know, this story arc has them. I'm definitely curious to see what it is about to do, though. Because it set up something very interesting at the very end. So, yeah, kind of interested. The Rising of the Shield Heroes, Season 3, Episode 8. I would actually call this episode the lowest point of the season. I don't feel like it feels as bad as Season 2 at all, but I do sort of feel like it's doing some things that they feel like they make a bit more sense, but there's still a couple things in there that's just like, well, that's convenient bullshit. And I don't mean like it's convenient and therefore it's bullshit. I mean it's bullshit that, you know, just happens to be convenient for bad things to be happening. And I sort of feel like it's gotten a little distracted by its characters. And, you know, I've rewatched a couple of episodes from Season 1. It's just like, you know, Season 1 was nice because it was about our main characters kind of doing stuff, but seasons beyond that are definitely a little distracted. But Season 3 is definitely not as bad as Season 2. So if Season 2 made you feel like you were seeing something horrible, you're pretty much in line with everybody else, I would say. What about Goblin Slayer Season 2, Episode 8? I guess it was okay. Probably not as super notable as I was maybe hoping it might be. Sorry, excuse me. Jeez. And I think it's not the best way to put it, but there's a little bit of something that's just like, do I feel like Goblin Slayer as a character is being as, oh, that's interesting, that's creative, as he maybe felt like in Season 1? Maybe not quite. No. The Kingdoms of Ruin, Episode 8. Neat stuff happened, I guess. But I'm still of the opinion that Kingdom of Ruin was a better show. It's just like fucking revenge time. And at this point, I kind of have to wonder about the pacing. You know, a lot of these I should be thinking more about, oh, we're getting close to the core and how do they look and feel. And Kingdom of Ruin, well, I certainly hope it's not a 12-episode show, because at this point it feels like if they are building up to something, the theming is still kind of being set up and it's only going to be mediocrely good unless it gets a chance to do more. Free Run Beyond Journey's End, Episode 12. Let's see, I do remember it being an amusing and entertaining episode. What all happened in it? We had that. We had some interesting character development and hints and stuff that happened. I'm definitely curious to see what it's about to do next, because it has some potential to do some stuff that is neat. Ragnar Crimson, Episode 9. It felt a little short, but overall, I guess, in terms of where it went, it was fun. Introducing new characters, but still kind of keeping on that, well, sort of on the main idea. Just kind of the path to doing it is a little strange, but guess it's kept the characters' interactions with each other entertaining. So I guess we'll just have to see where it continues to go. Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess, Episode 8. I'd say this was a pretty nice feeling episode. Like, I guess I can't really say I feel like the show is the most spectacular thing ever. Its fundamental premise does kind of put dampers on that to a certain degree, I think, because they don't want to go too far outside of that. Even though they're going much further outside of that comfort zone than I thought they were going to, and that's part of what's been making it a surprise good show. So, you know, pretty good so far. Faraway Paladins, Season 2, Episode 8. I guess it's continuing to be good setup for everything it's been doing thus far. I'm definitely curious to see what where this season is leading. I'm interested in the goal, and the journey there has been quite nice so far. So I'm enjoying Season 2. Butareba, the story of a man turned into a pig, Episode 8. Okay, yeah, now I'm remembering some of what happened in the episode, and it was okay. Like I said, the show definitely got a lot better when it was less, oh, are we watching a story about the pig? And it's more, we're watching the story about Jess. The pig is kind of the main character, but the story isn't about him. At least it doesn't seem to be. I mean, it kind of is in a way where it's like, the reason it will feel more about him, I guess, will just be because of this journey. It feels a lot better, and they revealed more things from last episode that had me initially a little worried. Like, I initially thought, okay, are they kind of introducing these elements and they're feeling a little wasteful, but what they started doing with them is interesting, because I sort of feel like, okay, it feels like it's doing a better job than I initially thought of setting things up for whatever it's going to do, hopefully at the end. Guess we'll have to see. I Shall Survive Using Potions, Episode 8. I think more of what I said before about this show, just likes to kind of do a bunch of random shit and maybe play with ideas that would be deep if they were executed right, but they're not executed very well, so they don't feel as deep. But it's still just very refreshing to watch what does happen. And I sort of felt like, if there's any weakness to this specific episode, it sort of felt like, they kind of established she can do that in a previous episode, or maybe the episode before that. So the reason they're not doing that route, they're going a different route, is because they are I guess just trying to keep doing fresh new things really quick, which kind of works out, even if it does weaken the story a little bit, but not too much, because just like, well, instead of doing this way, which would have been a lot easier, I guess I did it that way, which is moderately okay. Tear Moon Empire, Episode 8. Continuing to be pretty good Tear Moon Empire sort of stuff, I would say. I do appreciate the fact that even though the show a couple episodes back felt like it was leaning into its shoujo-ness a little much, maybe not too much, but just a little much, it's at least continuing on with the main premise of the show. And to a certain degree, it almost feels a little what was I thinking? Maybe a little One Trick Pony-esque, but maybe just a little. It doesn't feel completely bad. It's still entertaining, I think. Spy Family, Episode 33, still continuing more of this important story arc, and it's an interesting mix of stuff that we got, and I think by stuff I mean all good stuff, basically. If there's anything weak about it, it's that I guess we didn't go as strong with Anya and Lloyd, I think. But it was still entertaining stuff. Especially since, that pretty much means it's been your heavy and yours very watchable. She's very fun to watch. If Your Turner's Magic should be special, episode 8. I guess it's continuing to be stuff. Hopefully this is longer than one core, because if it's only one core, then it feels like it's been kind of wasting its time. 2 cores, maybe it can be getting away with this stuff. Guess we'll have to see. Berserk of Gluttony, episode 9. I have to say I lost a little bit of respect for Roxy. How dare you defend yourself? What was he supposed to fucking do? Sit there and let people punch him and steal from him? Fucking dumbass bitch. Don't think the show thought too hard about that one. But, I've gotten pissed off about this sort of stuff. It's just like, you expect people to just sit there, get the shit beat out of them, so that you can say, well, at least you did the right thing, and fucking dumbasses. I did not watch the next episode of Shangri-La Frontier. I haven't necessarily dropped that show yet, but I guess I just did not have the energy. The Wanted Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, episode 8. I guess I was a little hesitant starting it, but then I kind of realized after the place where the previous episode ended, I did want to watch it. And it was funny with the concept. Not taking itself too seriously and definitely doing something fun, but also not so out of whack to be against some of the ideas of the show. So it's still kind of adorable in certain ways. I don't think that's the right word to say it, but it's kind of the feeling I have, I guess. And that's probably just me getting older and looking at these young characters in shows, and they just keep getting younger and younger, and I keep getting older and older. And that's really more of a kind of an observation of just the feelings, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of adorable seeing them do that stuff, I guess. Dark Gathering, episode 21, it's okay, I guess. But I'm feeling it more and more that this show feels like it's just trying too hard. And in doing so, it's kind of losing focus on being actually horror themed. So it's kind of throwing stuff at the screen. But I don't know. I've mentioned before that I don't like how the more they seem to interact with ghosts in general, the more that it's just like, oh yeah, these are just more people except they're ghosts for some reason. But it's not necessarily bad. It's just, I don't know, kind of okay, but I don't know. It feels like it's trying to be scary, but because it's trying too hard, it's not really going to work. A playthrough of a certain dude's Vermo life, episode 9. Stuff. I mean, if you've enjoyed Vermo up to now, at least you'd probably still enjoy it, because there's this element of, he's just kind of chilling, doing things. This episode was a little weaker on that front for a couple of things, but maybe not overall too bad in terms of, we're just kind of watching him sort of chillax. There's still a question of, it does feel like they did have some sort of bigger goal in mind, but I don't think you can really give the show a lot of credit for doing it, just because it's not really made that kind of central storytelling point episode to episode through the season or something like that. But yeah. I guess if they are heading towards a core finale, they might have set that up just now, didn't they? Ron Kamonohashi's Forbidden Deductions, episode 9. More fun stuff. I think they're introducing bigger conspiracy stuff in general, but I guess so far it's mostly okay. I mentioned when they introduced the Academy, I kind of rolled my eye and said, this better not be interfering with what the show was doing up to that point, because it was already kind of fun. And it feels like, no, that was just sort of world building, but it was the world building that, I guess allows it to go into certain situations and explore certain things and just be an interesting detective-y sort of thing. If there's any complaint I'd have at the show right now, it's that episode 9 kind of revealed that they're definitely going for way more of a Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty I guess with Watson on the side. They haven't mentioned Watson or the name Watson, I think. Part of me wants to take a better look to see if they maybe or maybe haven't. But the point is, you know, it's sort of like, I felt like it didn't need to do that. It's doing something as part of a bigger story, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like a show can be perfectly good without saying, oh yes, you remember Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty? I felt like it could be above that. Guess it's not. It's maybe not below that, it just is. And then Dead Mount Death Play episode 20, I kind of enjoyed this episode more than the previous couple. Maybe not the degree to things that have been revealed and done per se, but the execution felt a lot better, and I think that's because it finally fucking spent time with our main character. Instead of like, oh, well, I'm going to reveal something and you already know what it is because it's pretty easy to guess, but I'm going to put off saying it by flashing over to something else and creating this disjoint in the conversation. So, better episode 20 than 19, in my opinion. I think in terms of the content of things revealed, maybe not quite as much, but still interesting curiosity. Let's see, anything else? I guess Chucky comes out tomorrow. Definitely looking forward to that. Whether or not I'll play Dead by Daylight or play as Chucky, I don't know. But I do know I need to focus on my VR chat avatar. I did start a project. It has been slowly going along. It came to an extreme pause because of baking a shit ton of stuff pre-Thanksgiving and then cooking Thanksgiving meal twice, once the week before for the company potluck and then once for Thanksgiving. Although I do have to say, this year I felt like I had even better timing for everything. You know, I've had good timing in the past where I'm like, well, I know exactly how long all these things will take to cook. A little iffy on this one thing, but I will have it where they're coming out as fresh as possible, close to the exact time we were going to eat. Instead, this time I was like, well, this one I'm okay with it coming out an hour early. This one I'm okay with it coming an hour and a half early. So I was able to really space things out a whole lot more and just kind of slowly have the food ready at the right times so that 5 o'clock hit and bam, off to Thanksgiving. And my parents brought dressing, stuffing. I guess technically it's stuffing if you stuff it in the turkey, but if you just serve the same contents on the side, it's dressing. That's what somebody was saying. I didn't even think about it. I called it dressing without thinking about it, but yeah, they had dressing. And it was very nice. Something my mom was experimenting with, especially with stuff that was more homegrown. And I'm saying more homegrown because she grew the zucchini at home, for example, but you know, the tomatoes she got from local farmers market stuff, things like that. I don't know if the celery was or not. I'm trying to remember everything she said was in there. I'm having trouble remembering all of it, but you know, it had bits of cornbread and some other bread and just overall nice stuff. I probably should have tried it covered in gravy. I made 10 cups of gravy, so we had plenty of gravy. It was just myself and my two parents, so yeah, we went crazy, but it was quite nice. Is there anything else to mention? Just ran through all this stuff real quick. And I already talked about that, so yeah. I guess that's pretty much it. Hopefully y'all had a good Thanksgiving as well. December's just around the corner, and the temperatures are already getting cooler here, so here's hoping for a nice winter. Y'all, have a nice week.